Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing my May wrap up. I read a lot of things in May. I think going from April to May, I had a lot of things that I was reading at the end of April that went into May. So I ended up finishing several books this month. 7. I finished 7 and I am still currently reading 6 other books. That is a lot. That's just been my last couple months. I've been consuming all of the books and it's been a great time. The only DNF I had was Crime and Punishment, and this one was a book that I started I think a couple months ago, and I read a couple chapters and I got stuck in this dude's like monologue. I mean, like, this one character talked for pages and pages, pages, and I just got stuck. Well, I finally finished that, and then I got to chapter 3 and I'm just like, yeah, I don't care. So I went ahead and just DNF'd it because I just don't care. But so Crime and Punishment, we're following this dude. I don't know his name, but we're following this dude. And he ends up committing a crime and then he gets like punished for it later and he's dealing with the consequences of that. So that's all that I know. I really wanted to read it. There's this like graphic novel type of thing. I don't know. It's like almost like comic book character cartoonish, and that's what the book looks like. And I just want to read it so bad, but I can't. I just, I just can't. So we're gonna DNF it. But I did finish the Empire of the Vampire, and this one, if you don't know, we're following this dude Gabriel, and something that I didn't know that I don't feel like anyone ever like talked about is you're following Gabriel in like 3 separate timelines. You're following him as a child, which is him recounting his story in childhood. Okay, actually, the whole thing is him recounting his story. So let me start over. You see him in adulthood, like present day, and he is recounting his story to this vampire. And he starts his story back when he was a child and how he was sent away from home and went to live with these vampire killer dudes. And so you're getting that storyline, but you're also getting a storyline from when he's a teenager because he kind of like, as he's telling his story to the vampire, he goes back and forth between when he's a child and when he's a teenager. And I say child and teenager, I really mean like he's like a teenager and he's like a young adult. Because like the first part of it is he's like about 15 ish. So that's what I mean. So that description was a little bit all over the place. But, anyways, so Gabriel lives in this world where the sun has gone away and the vampires sort of run the world because they can come out at any point. And they are dealing with the fact that the vampires are able to procreate, and when they, the only word I can think of is mate, when they are intimate with a human and create a child, that child is a half breed basically, and they're called a silver saint, and so, or well, they go and train to be a silver saint, and so that's what Gabriel is, and he is learning how to kill these vampires. And I think that that's the basic gist of the story. It was pretty good. I can understand why some people love it. I did not enjoy the flashbacks telling of him as a young adult. I didn't really care for that. Up until probably like midway. I loved the telling of when he's about 15 and he's like figuring out this world and just being kind of thrown into it. Loved it so much. That was great. I didn't really much care for the way that the story was told with all the flashbacks and the present day. It was mostly the present day that would get on my nerves because the vampire would ask a question that he obviously knows the answer to, but he just wants Gabriel to answer it. And it's for us. Like, that is for us as the reader. And I'm just like, that pulls me out of the story. I don't care. I don't know. I don't like it. So there was that. I did like some of the reveals in this. I did like some of the character stuff in this. That was really about it. I didn't care for any of the battle scenes. I think I zoned out majority of the time when it was a battle scene, which is funny because I read a lot of high fantasy that have a lot of battles and I love the battles. So I don't know what it is. I think I just don't like vampires. And so I think that this was a long shot for me anyways. It was fine in the long run. Not gonna read book 2. I mean, I might be able to be convinced to read book 2, but It's definitely not on my list to read. So, convince me in the comments. The second one I finished was Black Mouth, and Black Mouth was so much fun. I loved this. This is a horror novel by Ronald Malfi, and we are following this dude who is living his life. He's kind of a mess, honestly. He loses his job because he went his job drunk, and he went to jail and all kinds of stuff. And then he gets out and goes to rehab. And like that's just in the first couple of pages. Like we run through that pretty quickly. But he gets a call that his brother was found walking the street half naked and barefoot. And so he has to go home to tend to his brother and figure out what's happening and deal with the fact that his mom has died. And his brother is on the spectrum, probably, or some sort of low IQ, definitely a special needs. Something happened in there, but he does seem to have a fixation with Ninja Turtles, so it really sounds like Spectrum, but I don't know that it ever went into details on what it was. He ends up going home, and he does not want to go home because the last time he was home, well, not like the last time, but when he was home, home was a really like hard place for him with abuse. And there was this one incident when he was a child where he met this man who was a magician, and traumatic things ended up happening due to his relationship with this magician. And him and several of his friends ended up getting into a lot of trouble. And so we're following, what was his name? So we're following Jamie, and Jamie is our main character, and him and his friends. We've got Mia and Clay, and then Dennis is his brother. And they end up all back at the same place in their hometown, and they are attempting to investigate a series of events that are currently happening that are very similar to the events that happened in their childhood and are surrounding this guy named the Magician. And it is so interesting. It definitely reads like it, from what I can tell of it. I didn't finish it. I only read like a little bit of it, but it definitely resembles it. But I like this. I did not finish it, right? But I loved this. This was a lot of fun. I really liked the mystery of it all. I liked the characters. I thought they were really complex and interesting. And I think that this is much shorter, which also helped. He's a little bit more to the point. But Ronald Malfi has done a really good job of writing like an eerie setting, and you can tell from the jump that it's going to be a little bit dark and it's going to be a little bit eerie. And I really liked this. The next one on this list took me like 5 months to read, but I did it, and that was Best Served Cold. And if you don't know, Best Served Cold is the first standalone in Joe Abercrombie's first law series, or 9 books in the series. And this one is technically book 4, but it's the first of the standalones. And we're following Monza as she is attempting to get revenge. She was, her and her brother were attacked by people that they were really close with, and because of that, she is out for revenge. And so she is going to kill everyone who was involved in this attack. And so she hires this crew that can't stand each other, doesn't trust each other at all, to help her on her quest. But she's going up against people who are like high in the military, high in the royalty and all these things, and she has an uphill battle to climb, right? Well, with this one, Joe Abercrombie does a really good job with um the story itself and the characters. I love the characters. Nikoma Koska is my favorite. I love him. He is the only reason I got through this book. He's just so funny. He's a drunk, and all he wants to do is a drink and a drink, a drink, a drink, a drink. That's all he thinks about the whole time, and it's so funny. And I do love some of the twists and turns in this, and how you think things are one way, but then they kind of get twisted, and you're like, oh, did not see that coming. I love that. For me, and I am in the minority. I am absolutely in the minority with my opinion on this book because I don't like it at all. And everyone else loves it. Like, this is the crowd favorite for the standalones. Everyone says Best or Cold's the best one. Not for me. I think it just drug on and on and on, and it just felt so long. And like at one point, we were we had been working on a revenge, right? And I'm like, we still have so much more to go, and I just don't want to do it. So you know, I know that I am wrong in my opinion, and that's okay because The Heroes is my favorite, and that is next. But I haven't read it yet because I just don't want to. I just don't want to. I may try it in like August or something because I need a break after Best Served Cold. Best Served Cold took me forever, forever. And I think part of the reason it took me forever is because it was on um um what was it, ebook. I was trying to read it on ebook. I think I finally got it on Audible. I think that I finally just did it. Um, or maybe I found it on Libby. I found it somewhere because I'd had the audiobook, but then my borrow ran out. Like you only get like a 14-day limit. Ran out. So then I was doing the ebook and I think I renewed that sucker like 3 times and still couldn't get through it. And I finally got the audiobook again and was able to get through it. And it was the only way I got through it. And it was a struggle. The next one I finished was Sticks and Stones. This one was a cute little love story. I don't even know why I'm saying cute. It wasn't like cute. It was a short love story. We are following what's her name? He calls her Sticks the whole time. Ren. Her name is Ren. And his name is Stone. Literally, that's his name. So the book's called Sticks and Stones, right? Well, Ren, when she's in high school, she had drugs on her because her dad's a drug dealer and he was making her take these to a buyer, right? Well, she ends up seeing that the cops are at school and they're testing all the cars and stuff. And so she ends up taking the drugs out of the car and putting them on Stone's truck. Stone gets in trouble and Stone's trying to make it to the NHL. So he gets in trouble and it like really kind of hurts his hockey stuff and he's really mad at her. Like he does not want to see her ever again, right? Well, then we fast forward a couple of years and she just ends up breaking up with her boyfriend. And so she ends up moving in with her foster brother. And Stone is best friends with her foster brother, who is named Evander, I think is his name. And Stone is transferring to their college and he's going to move in with Evander as well. It's a big house. They got lots of rooms, but they do not have room for the both of them. So they end up having to share a room. So Ren is now sharing a room with Stone and they hate each other. And it was so funny because I think Stone was already there in the room when Ren comes home because she had already been there and like gone about her day and then come back and he's sitting in the room and he's like, "Welcome to hell." And so they just torture each other for a while and then, of course they're gonna fall in love, right? But they're also dealing with the fact that Ren's family is a drug family and she's wrapped up in it and her dad is really dangerous and all those things. This was fine. It kind of annoyed me that he called her Sticks all the time. Like all the time. And I get that they kind of had to keep reiterating that because it's the title of the book, but it was a lot. And so yeah, it just a couple of things like pulled me out of it, but it was fine. Guys, this next one, you haven't seen my vlog yet, but this next one is The Slob. And this one was unhinged. And I mean unhinged. Like, I've got tears in my eyes just like thinking about this book because this one was absolutely wild. We're following this girl, Vivian, and she is pregnant and her husband is in a wheelchair. And so she's like, I can make some extra money by becoming a vacuum salesman. So she's going door to door to try and sell this vacuum. Well, she ends up at this dude's door and he is a slob. And instead of being weirded out and being like, okay, I'm just gonna, turn around and go home. No, she goes into the home and she gets trapped there. And that is all I can tell you about the plot because it's super short, like super short. But the things that happen in this home, absolutely unhinged. I was literally listening to this covering my mouth. Like, absolutely could not. Like, I got chills just thinking about it because this is probably the most unhinged thing that I have ever seen in my life. And I've read a couple of unhinged things, and this is definitely it. I've read about cannibals. I've read about crazy women with dead babies. Like I have read some things. This takes the cake. Like, proceed with caution if you're going to read it because it is unhinged. I mean, that's all that I got out of it. I mean, it was quick and easy to read, and the writer definitely did a really good job of making you feel uncomfortable and feeling just like grossed out and just, yeah. I really like the ending though, because the ending really like came full circle for some things, and I really like that. There is a book too. I don't know if I'm gonna read it because I just like I don't know that I want to go there again. So I'm not gonna do it. The next one I finished was Change of Heart. This one is a book by Jodi Picoult. This was a reread for me. I hadn't read it in like 15 years, though I read it in high school. And we are following a variety of different people, as you do with Jodi Picoult, but we're following mostly this priest named Michael and this lawyer named Maggie. And Michael was originally on this jury that voted to have this guy, Shane, be charged with the death penalty. And it's the first time that that's been charged on somebody in this state in like years upon years, right? 11 years later, Michael becomes a priest and he is part of Shane's like advisory council. Shane doesn't know that he was on the original jury or anything, so he's got this big secret. And Maggie is I think it's an ACLU or ACUL, something. She's some sort of lawyer, where she is attempting to fight for Shane's right to practice his religious freedoms, even in jail. And she is fighting to let him have a different method of execution because he wants to donate his heart to a little girl. So Maggie is trying to use the religious basis to let him be hung instead of the injection so that his organs are okay to donate to this little girl. Okay. Well, Shane is charged with murder. He is charged with murdering a police officer and the guy's stepdaughter, who was like 7, 8 at the time. And we're following a little bit of June's perspective. And June is the wife and mother to the two that were killed. And June has another daughter, Claire, and she has a heart problem. And so Shane, who is charged with murdering her husband and her daughter, is offering to donate his heart to her dying child. That is a lot. But like that's how Jodi Picoult does her stories. I remember really liking this one in high school when I read it. However, I did not like it as much this time around. And I think that I know why. I think I really liked it in high school because of the fact that I loved the twist at the end. There is a revelation that you get at the end that kind of changes your perspective on everything. And I loved it so much. I thought it was fantastic. And going into this reread, I know that twist. And so I was able to enjoy the rest of it a little bit differently because I already know what's coming. And I really think that I only like this book, probably because I was young and, read things a little bit differently, but also because of that twist. I really love a good twist on the end. And so I think that that really swayed my liking of this book. It's not that it's a bad book. My problem with this book is that it's very like religious heavy. Not that I'm against religion in any kind of way. I don't know. I feel like it was too much. And I don't know. I don't have an answer for you at all. I just know that a lot of the times when they were talking about like the different parts of different religions and stuff, I'm just like checked out. So I think that that was the piece. I like a lot of the social nuances of things of, is it ethical to have voted for him to die and now you're part of his advisory council? Is it ethical to accept a heart from your family's murderer to save your child? Is it ethical to let your child die to refuse his heart? Like, and I love Jodi Picoult when she does these kinds of stories because she explores all of it, and you can fully see from everyone's perspective where they're coming from. And so I think that's really cool. Um, just unfortunate that I didn't like it as much on reread. And then the last book I finished was Ghosting. This one is a romance novel. We're following Miles and Zoe. Miles and Zoe are both ghostwriters for different dating sites. There we go. They're ghostwriters. So what they do is they pair up with a person and they help them write their profiles. They help them with texting for their matches and stuff. They help them pick their matches. They do all kinds of stuff. They're very hands on. Miles is recently out of a relationship, and so he's very jaded about the whole thing. He's kind of having a hard time with his job, as you can probably understand. And then Zoe just moved from Los Angeles to New York, and she hates it. And she will not travel more than like across the street. Like, she is not going on the subway. If she can't walk there, she's not going. And so she really loves the coffee shop across the street. And she ends up running into Miles, and they bicker over baked goods, and then they're bickering over this table and who gets in, so they try to beat each other out. Meanwhile, they don't know that the people that they are working for, like, they each have a client. Their clients are trying to date, like, they've matched on this dating site, and so they're interacting with each other. And so it's kind of fun and cute. I like the characters well enough. I like the banter enough. It was mostly a fine romance novel. I mean, it's not like super deep or anything, so I mean, it was perfectly fine. All right, and then the books that I have started, but I'm still working on. I've got Wind and Truth, Veiled Throne. This one you haven't really heard from me because I started it last year in like March, and I just picked it up again. So more on that later. I'm also finishing Onyx Storm, Still Beating, Bunny. Bet you didn't think you'd see that one, and Famous Last Words. So definitely reading a ton. And spoiler alert, because it is currently June 3rd, I have already finished a couple of those. So we're doing a great job. And then lastly, my book of the month. I went back and forth between The Slob and Black Mouth on this one because there wasn't a book that I just like absolutely loved this month. But I really liked Black Mouth, and I really liked the fact that it's a horror, and I actually liked a horror. And The Slob really made me feel stuff like The Slob is wild. It is completely unhinged, and I was like, I don't know which one to pick, but I ended up going with The Slob because of the fact that it just made me feel so icky. Like, it made me feel so much, and it's so short. I want to say it only took me like 4 hours to read it. It might have been less. Like, it did not take me long at all, and it was just so icky. Like, I'm getting just icky, like, just thinking about it. So, if you like icky and you want to read this book, I am telling you, read at your own risk. Like, it's just unhinged. But stay tuned for that vlog. I've got 2 books to finish for that, and then I will get that posted. But that's all for my month. What did you read in May? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you in the next one.